Hey, Instagram. So I wanted to go over one of my favorite systems for waterproofing. And there's many reasons why this is my favorite. So I want to get into it. I have this little video here of a tub surround that I installed about a year ago now. And I just wanted to kind of go over a lot of the reasons why I think it's such a great system. And any DIYer will definitely agree with me once you see how some of this is put together. So I'm going to that thing's just going to be rolling here and in the background. So ask any questions. I'll be here to, kind of look over the chat here. Let me make sure that I'm live here, but why isn't that showing? There we go. Okay, I am live there now. Okay. So one of the primary reasons that I think this system is one of the best ones out there is primarily because of the sealant application, and it's a foam board. So you don't have any dust when you're actually cutting it. As a contractor that has been working in the bathroom industry for over 15 years now, doing HYDROBLOK or cement board is something that you just don't want to be inhaling too much of over time. It just will end up killing you. There's a reason California had said it causes cancer, and I think it's primarily because of how bad and dusty it really is. But going foam board, no matter what kind it is just definitely the best way to go. Because, the foam board, you can cut it with a utility knife. You can easily modify it to fit your space because nothing's ever even or level or plumb. So it makes it really easy to set into place. And if you're doing a window like this, it really, really makes it easy because you're able to use sealant to adhere everything to the window frame, and you can make everything 100% waterproof. Now,
got that nice and
ideally
in there.
Having a window in a shower is a terrible idea. I am not sure exactly why a lot of contractors back in the 60s and 70s used to install them there. I assume that it might have had something to do with that they didn't have a ventilation fan, and they just thought that windows were a way to, I don't know. I really don't understand it. I think it's a terrible idea ultimately, but most of the time you're stuck with it. There's a brick exterior. You really can't just block it off. So you're left with trying to do the best that you can and installing waterproofing all the way around it. And that's where this kind of system really provides an easy way to seal it. So you essentially just make sure that you seal everything against the vinyl window with the sealant, place that board into it, and then add additional sealant to cover over all your screw holes and make a watertight seal. So it really is easy. And what I really love about it too, not only is the sealant application easy to use, but you're not getting that buildup. I have some people commenting in here about Schluter. Is this better than Schluter? I personally think so. The board is stiffer. And then the big thing is that there's no buildup from the membranes. So going around that window, if you ever did a Schluter system around a window, which I have multiple times, it's a real pain in the ass. It builds up a ton of membrane thicknesses all the way around there. And you still have to use sealant with the Schluter type of system. You have to use Curdy band to go up against the window with Curdy Fix, I should say. Curdy Fix is their sealant. So anyways, it's just a lot more cumbersome with a Schluter system to go up against a window. Everything else is kind of debatable on whether you think it's a better system or not using a membrane or a sealant application. But these new poly sealants, I mean, look at that windowsill, completely waterproof. There's no extra buildup. There's no, thickness of basically the membrane sticking up above it. So it really makes it really super easy to be able to make a nice flat surface for setting your tile.
Sealed in there.
So, I mean, just like Bennett Flooring and Taldat are saying, that these guys are the ones that have used this product as well and know how much easier this is than a lot of those other products. So if you're a contractor, this is just going to save you a ton of time, and ultimately you're going to be less expensive than some of these other bigger brands that are out there. So, it really is a straightforward process of basically just using that sealant in every plane of the tub surround. So in this particular situation, I actually had existing walls. I was not removing all of the walls on the outside of the shower. I was just strictly replacing the actual shower. So I had to meet up with existing walls. And that becomes something that is cumbersome with putting in a new tub a lot of times you have to shim out the walls to make those wall boards meet with the existing walls. So what I had to do here was basically just set the wall board on top of the tub flange and then fill in that area with the sealant. Really simple to do, but thin set will adhere to this actual kind of sealant. So this is definitely a really simple way to get a nice even layer across there. And you'll notice like a lot of tubs will have pretty thick flanges. So sometimes it's really difficult to allow the board to overcome it and then come down onto the tub deck. You can just literally just sit it on top of that flange and fill that area. So that's one of the, you know, real benefits of using something like this. Is it a bit more expensive? No, it actually isn't, especially if you're comparing it to Schluter Curdy board. I think Schluter Curdy board now is what, $60 a sheet. You know, if you get this at your local Daltao or Menards, I think is selling it now, but you know, you're roughly around $30, $35 a sheet. So you're right at the same cost effectiveness as like Go board. The sealant I think is a little bit more expensive. I have to look into what the numbers are on that, but yeah, no, you're really being very comparable to Go board or other something like what do you call it, Latacrete board, the Hydro Band board. Very similar thing, but what I really love about this is that it has that cementitious layer on the outside, gives it a lot more rigidity. It also allows thin set to really bond well. Having a little bit of a rough surface versus a very smooth surface makes it better for tile installation. So I've always been a huge fan of Weedy. Anybody who knows my career as a bathroom remodeler who might have seen me on another channel that's online. I used to use a ton of Weedy. It's one of the systems that I started out with, and this is pretty much identical to the board. And the only difference is it's a little bit blue on the, or it's green on the inside versus blue. So, yeah, you know, Bennett, I totally get it. $24 for Go board. That's a really tough price to beat. So I definitely think you got something there, and that's I view a ton of Go board as well. But I do feel that the system, because they also sell shower pans and everything else that goes along with it, it's just, you know, you would want to go with everything with HYDROBLOK if you were doing that, so you can have that lifetime warranty with it as well. And I don't know, Bennett, have you ever tried Go board's shower pan systems? I never have, and I'm just a little leery of it just because of the way that you're basically just using a ton of sealant to create the shower pan. I wasn't really overly impressed with their shower drains either. So that's one of the things why I haven't used Go board for showers or whatnot. But the HYDROBLOK shower pans are definitely pretty easy to modify. Like I said, exactly kind of like the Weedy pan where you can modify it. So, but I actually have a piece right here. So this, like, again, this is waterproof all the way through the entire board. So even if you nick it or, you know, puncture it in some way, as long as it doesn't go all the way through the board, you know, kind of like I have that hole right here. You can actually see a hole all the way through it. Unless you go all the way through the board, then you're going to have a problem. But you can, you know, this is a very durable, thick product. It doesn't bend. You know, if I had a Curdy band right now, or a Curdy board right now, I could just fold that thing right in half, no problem. This is a nice rigid board. So, but having the peace of mind that it's like waterproof all the way through in case you nicked it or anything like that makes it really easy. Curtis, if you go to hydroblok.com, you'll be able to see and check out the, what do you want to call it? There's a dealer locator that you can find. I wish I can add the link here on Instagram, but obviously they don't do that on here. But yeah, check out hydroblok.com and you can find a local dealer. And, you know, I know they're getting more and more distributors over time everywhere across the United States. So, you know, but, yeah. So anyways, I just really wanted to show this tub surround installation because it literally took me about an hour and a half to install all of this board. And most of the time in this particular situation, I was more of fighting the framing and installing the board on the walls to match up with my existing plaster. So it really had nothing to do with the time setting of the board. It was more about making that even with the outside wall that took on me all the time. So I could really, you know, you could literally start in setting tile 2 in about an hour. Just once that sealant is not tacky anymore and you can handle a notch trowel on it, you can start thin setting and adding tile to it. Now, I particularly always just call this a day. Like once I get all the waterproofing in and everything sealed, like that's my kind of a short day of the project. And then the next following day, I get into the actual, tiling process. To me, I can't shift gears that quickly, especially around a window like that, because that window wall will take me a good part of most of the day to do. So that's kind of why I don't even get into it. So the argument of, maybe using like a Schluter system and being able to move right on to tiling doesn't really set with me, because how many people are actually doing that? I think in the majority of people are they're waterproofing this and leaving it as it is. So, but again, this was the perfect location for it because of the window. It just makes it a lot easier. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I've done like just about every system out there. I've done the liquid waterproofing. I've done RedGuard. I've done HydroBand. I've done Ardex 8+9 liquid membranes. I do the Schluter. I've done the Schluter Curdy membrane. I've done the Guru system with the membrane on that. What else have I demonstrated? I've done the HydroBand board, but that was on another channel. I did USG board on another channel, but that they no longer even make that anymore. Obviously, I've done Weedy. That's why I like this product so much. What else have I? Oh, I just started using, what do you call it? Perma-base board. So this is, I just did that on a backboard. Oh, Go board too. So I just did this Perma-base, which is a blue board. Essentially is just a blue. I can't even show you here. It's essentially just a blue foam board, just like Go board. So nothing different, about the same price as this HYDROBLOK. But I would go with HYDROBLOK all day long. But I should just mention the reason that I would do that is because this is a very smooth surface. So just like Go board, it's just like there isn't really any ridges on it at all. So you have to really work your thin set into that membrane in order to stick. Now look at the Go board. You can see all the ridges on it. So it has like a cementitious layer on it. So this surface is already kind of rough, and it has these little fiberglass. Like it's basically nice kind of like like a reinforcement fiberglass mesh with a cementitious layer. So I like this better for adhering everything to. And then the sealant is, allows the thin set to adhere to it as well. So those are kind of the couple of primary reasons that I use this board, is because it's waterproof all the way through, and you're able to, apply thin set to it very easily. And then the sealant is really superior. I actually personally like this sealant better than the Weedy sealant, which is very, very similar, but this has a little bit more of a fluidity to it. So it's easier to keep even smooth. And I think that's one of the biggest aspects of sealant applications, that you're always able to get your wall 100% level, or not level, but flat. If you ever used a membrane system, then you have overlap, and then there's always, it's not much. I mean, it's like a 16th inch of a difference, maybe even a little less than that, but it can be problematic when you do multiple layers over top of each other. So like that window, if you did a membrane system over that window, you're going to have at least 3 layers of the membrane around that window, and it's going to build up in the corners, and you're going to have to overcome that with your tile in some aspect. I'm not saying that's a huge deal, but it's certainly a lot easier when everything's nice and flat and you don't even have to deal with any of that buildup. And you know exactly what I'm talking about if you've done a Schluter system in a shower pan system of any sort. The buildup ends up causing the corners of your shower to kind of veer up a little bit, and you have to either, depending on what kind of tile you're installing, you either have to grind down the back of the tile to keep it the same level, or you have to cut the tile that you're resting it against to contour that shower pan. So using the sealant application is definitely superior. Thanks, One Contracting. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm always constantly on here, but I really did want to do more lives, because now that we can actually get software that I can showcase this stuff and not just me looking at myself with the phone. I really like this because I can actually give some valuable information on some of these easy things. How does the sealing of the joints and the corners handles settling without taping? You know, I tell you, you know, they've really tested a lot of this polyurethane sealants, and they're really, really strong. But now, if you do a shower pan, they actually do have a basically a fiberglass mesh, an alkali-resistant mesh that you embed into the sealant as well, and that kind of gives it some reinforcement. So you can always embed an alkali-resistant tape or mesh over any of this stuff if you really wanted to, and it would give you some additional rigidity. But when you're meeting like board to board or corner to corner, it really isn't necessary. This stuff is going to have the elasticity to handle any type of movement. Now, I mean, if you have some significant movement problems with your structure, then that's you're not going to overcome any of that. But I think most people are concerned about that when they have a shower pan. They just want to make sure there's reinforcement there, and they do have a mesh that you can embed in there. Daddies and daughters, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to HYDROBLOK board here. He knows that's easy. JC Custom, I see you. So many weedy videos out there. You ought to try the HYDROBLOK. I think you'll absolutely love it. Yeah, you're right, Daddy. It says Omar saying that the sealant dries with the moisture and water. So yeah, you could like basically almost immediately flood test it if you're doing it like a shower pan of some sort. Centennial board. Okay, that's one I have not tried. Right angle. I have not tried Centennial board. I've heard of it. I don't know if I've even seen it. That's a good question. I don't know if that's something similar to this type of thing or not. So, but yeah, I mean, this could really quicken up your installation of doing a tub surround. If you ever done liquid membranes or sheet membranes, you're going to be able to install this much, much quicker and get the job done. And really, it's not going to cost you really any more. I mean, it's going to be, if anything, it's going to be about the same price. I mean, a lot of people are real gung-ho about using cement board and red guard. But if you do red guard correctly and you try to get the correct mill thickness, it's going to take you, a good 3 coats of the red guard membrane to get it to the thickness that you need. You're taking the entire day to do that. You're taking the entire day to do that. And this literally is like an hour and a half. And if I really was motivated, I could go moving on to doing the tile. So yeah, I mean, Fox Luca is talking about the Guru overlap. Yep, same thing as Schluter, same problem with that. I mean, I'm not saying that it is not a proven method. The membrane is very thick. It's just all up to you to make sure that it's flat as hell and that it's bonded well. That I have always seen the majority. The reason that there's so many videos out there on Schluter is because there's so many problems with Schluter. And it's usually, if you do it right, it's definitely a good system. I'm not going to deny the fact that if you use Schluter the right way, it'll be a good system. The problem is that there's too many problems when people are installing it, whether the thin set's too dry. That's like the number one. Usually the thin set layer is just not fluid enough and you're not getting good adherence to the actual membrane. That's usually number one issue with that. And then secondly is just the buildup, but that's kind of the nature of the product. You're never going to be able to get it completely flat because you're adding a membrane over top of something, So OSI Quad Max for Go board, you bet, man. That's definitely the way to go. It is cheaper than the Go board sealant. So I don't, I honestly have to compare HYDROBLOK sealant to that. I always get the big sausage tubes, so I'm not really sure what that flood testing in an hour, daddies and daughters, I get you. Yeah, I mean, really, I wouldn't be flood testing it beforehand anyways. It's going to take a little bit to do that. Tile disconnect Schluter is definitely not better than Weedy and HYDROBLOK. Very true. Again, your ultimate goal here is just to get a waterproof shower. So however method you do that, that's fine. You just, the days of installing cement board and using a plastic vapor barrier behind it does not make any sense anymore. And if you have a window like this, I just don't see how you can make that watertight in any fashion with a cement board without liquid waterproofing. And I personally would not even do cement board the old method like that. I would always be doing some kind of liquid membrane over it. My favorite is Ardex 8+9. You've seen me use that many times. That stuff is some really bulletproof waterproofing, but it takes time to install. You're going to set all the cement board in probably a little bit longer than it's taken me to do here, because you can't just use an oscillating tool like I just did there. I mean, you can with the right blade, I should say, but you're not going to be able to zip through it like this with the foam board with cement board. You're not going to install it as quickly as this. It's just not going to happen, because you can use a utility knife with this and scribe cut it and get it to work. So, but you know, again, you're going to get all the cement board the same amount of time that it takes me to do all of this. And then you're going to do liquid waterproofing over top. And then if you really want to be, you know, what do you want to call it? Crazy. Go ahead and do a Guru membrane or a Schluter membrane over top of it. That would definitely be a great way to go, but you're talking about twice as much time and probably more money than what this is going to cost to do. Now, I did put one of the important points here is that I would definitely recommend putting a what do you call it? A pipe seal around that tub spout, because most tub spouts do not have any way to adhere or stick, or basically doesn't have any type of seal behind it. So it's really important to seal around the actual pipe that comes out of the wall for your tub spout. That's where the pipe flanges really help out. Now, the actual valve seal that you see around there, that's debatable whether that's overkill. And then certainly the shower head port is something that's probably overkill. But if you were to do a handheld of some sort, I'd definitely use a pipe seal, because I think that would be, the best way to make sure that everything's watertight. Because a lot of those handheld adapters that you thread on, they don't really have a very good seal either. So you need to make sure that the pipe is sealed around there. And this sealant's going to do it the easiest. So I don't mean to be on a race with my talking, but I just I guess I'm going to the pace of my video. But yeah, but it really truly is one of my favorite systems because of the ease of use. And if you bought a pallet of this as a contractor, I mean, you'll be able to speed through a lot of projects. How long did it take you to tile this bathroom? It took me 2 days. So I did the back wall because with the window cutting and all that stuff, that takes a bit of time. But I also did, I don't have a picture of it here, but I did do a mosaic border around the rear where the window is, and I set that on Schluter membrane. I did actually use a Schluter membrane. I used the Schluter membrane to set the mosaics on like this, like the night that I did this waterproofing, so I can set that border up very easily the following day. So yeah, it's a 2-day tiling project. So really, this whole replacement bathroom would have taken 4 days, and if I were quoting it, I would just give myself 5 days. Tell the client that it's going to take me a week to complete this. And this is one of the reasons why, like, just replacing a bathtub and putting in a new shower, you could pretty much do the rest of the bathroom in 2 more days and have everything brand new.
Got that nice
so, but there. It's all on what people's budget are. I completely understand that you just don't have, $20,000 to remodel a bathroom, and you might just need to get rid of that old nasty tub surround. Because that's one thing with a window. People are limited in their options with that. And you see a lot of ugly jobs where somebody just used one of those like little thin acrylic panels, and then they put some kind of ugly trim around it and just silicone the hell out of it. That's what you end up with most of the time, because people don't spend the money to do it right. And I think this is the most inexpensive way, is to use a board like this with the sealant and then tile it. You can get some pretty inexpensive, like 12 by 24 inch tiles. I actually used just like a Schluter Rondeck trim around it. So like really the tile cost of this tub surround area was maybe $300, very inexpensive, so you're able to really, you're able to do it for less than what the other ones are. Hey, Kip, Rocksteady Tile Company, well, how you doing, man? You got to try out HYDROBLOK sometime. I don't know if you have or not, but this is definitely a really great system. I actually last year at Coverings, Kip, I know you're going to Coverings. Last year at Coverings, I kind of met up with these guys and discovered them and was really interested in trying their project. And this actual tub surround I did in April of last year. So That's one reason you go to coverings. You can find out like all the new systems that are out. And I just thought this one really attracted me because it was exactly like Weedy, and Weedy was something that I started my career out, like the first time that I realized I was doing everything wrong with bathroom remodeling. I was watching HGTV. I was watching Mike Holmes, and Mike Holmes was using Schluter Dietra, and he was talking about the importance of waterproofing. And they didn't have Curdy board back then, but he was talking about the waterproofing
nice and sealed in
on
there.
the floor. And then he was showing some like problems in someone's bathroom. I don't remember the specific episode, but at that moment, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not even waterproofing anything. Like I'm installing HYDROBLOK and I'm setting it towel directly over HYDROBLOK, and I'm even creating recess niches, however I call it niches, but niches. And I'm just using HYDROBLOK and I'm not doing any waterproofing. I was just kind of clueless. And this was back in 2008. So you didn't really have YouTube. There wasn't any of this social media, and you didn't have an iPhone. So there was a reason why I didn't know. And that was what made me realize that I should be really considering waterproofing. I got onto a forum called contractortalk.com. It was on the internet. And I started talking to guys, and somebody mentioned Weedy. And I looked around and I went to the distributor to I went on their site to find it and found it. And ever since then, I ended up doing 25, 30 showers in the next following years with Weedy. And that's what got me started on it. So when I saw this, I was like, this is exactly the same thing in a lot of ways. And I think and they improved on things too. They improved on their drain systems. They have a linear drain that is way superior than what Weedy has. And the other thing that, the reason I got away from Weedy is because of their price. They just completely went out of reach in a lot of ways. I mean, I think their boards now are like $60 a sheet. It's just ridiculous. And then their shower pans, I mean, you're talking over $1,000 for, a 3x5 pan. So there are some things about Weedy that are still great. Like their shower pans that are for curbless entries are 3/4 of an inch thick. So they got some things that are pretty awesome. But, I think this overall beats all of that, including the point drain system and their linear drain system for HYDROBLOK is freaking awesome. I can't wait to show you guys that installation later this year. I'm going to be doing the point drain system here at some point. But yeah, I mean, if it's just not only just for the board itself, the rest of it really is. So, you know what, John Neer, I have to look at it. How much did this bathroom cost? I think it was a total of, $3,200 on all of this. So that was mainly because they had to get a new tub, and then obviously all the tile and everything. I'll have to look at it. It's in my course. I have a course on this. If you go, you can see the ticker down below here, bathroomremodelingteacher.com. Check that out. It has all my courses in there. And this is just called the tub shower replacement. $49. I think I have like 40 tutorials on this installation, including the installation of the window itself. But the reason I even had to do this project was because I had personally installed a Delta tub 5 years ago, and the tub flange, where you mount the tub assembly to the actual flange of the tub, cracked and started leaking because it was a cheap piece of shit. So I ended up having to replace the tub, and I will never, ever, ever install a tub like the Delta ever again. The ones that have the black shield underneath that are separate from the actual tub, very thin flange, they're really easy. I mean, they're just absolute garbage, and I'm ashamed that I even put it in, but I actually put one in my own home, and I didn't have any problems with it, but I didn't realize that the tub flange was cracked, and that's kind of why I ended up replacing this in the first place. So, but but you can see there, I mean, you can't beat the easiness of the sealant application around that window. Now everything's completely waterproof as much as it can be. Again, having a window in your shower is an awful idea, especially a double hung window like that, because they're not designed to have water coming in from the inside of the house. It's supposed to be outside penetration, not the inside. So, you still have kind of issues there. There could be potential moisture issues that would be associated with the window. But this is really going to be your best bet to seal against it and make sure that water isn't getting down into the wall cavity below it. So it's been about a half hour. I do want to keep this video up, so you'll be able to watch this a little bit later on. But check out HYDROBLOK, hydroblok.com. You can check out where the dealers are, order some of it yourself. But I think you'll see this kind of dominate the market here over the years. You'll be able to see this at a lot more distributors and places to find. So because it really is a great board, and I think if you're a contractor who's worked with other materials, you're going to be like, wow, this stuff is pretty nice. It's definitely something I want to get into and do a lot more of. So, but all right, Instagram, I got to go get dinner here or get dinner started. So I will see you in the next live stream. Reach out if you want to.